Hey friends! Have you ever felt like you're constantly chasing after superficial things? Like, having to dress perfectly for interviews, driving a fancy car to meet partners, or even posting stories about dining at luxurious restaurants just to show people how successful you are. I remember a friend who was so worried about people laughing if he didn't wear a suit to job interviews. He ended up borrowing money to buy an expensive suit, but forgot to prepare his professional knowledge. The result, well, you can guess what happened. And you know what? Through this story, I realized something. Some decisions only take 30 seconds. But they can change our entire life. Just like the young man in the story I'm about to tell. If you're facing difficult decisions in your work or life, this story might help you see the miracle hidden behind each of your choices. Especially, those choices that others might call foolish, disadvantageous, or not worth it. Now, come join me for a cup of tea. Long ago, there was a kingdom ruled by a king who had no son to inherit the throne. Being elderly, the king wanted to find a worthy successor to rule the country. He issued an announcement throughout the kingdom, inviting all eligible young men for an interview. The interview results would determine who would inherit the throne. The only requirement for candidates was to have boundless love for their fellow beings. Every young man in the country was excited about the opportunity to become the kingdom's ruler. A poor young man from a distant village read the announcement and began preparing for the interview with the king. He was kind-hearted and hard-working but poor due to his circumstances. He didn't have proper clothes to meet the king. So he worked very hard and saved money to buy new clothes and provisions for the long journey to the palace. After gathering enough provisions and appropriate attire for the interview, the young man began his journey. He had traveled for many days and was nearly at his destination when he encountered a poor beggar by the road. The beggar was shivering in the cold, wearing only tattered rags. He held out his hand pleading for help. His voice weak, "I am hungry and cold. Please help me." The young man was deeply moved by the beggar's miserable condition. He immediately took off his new clothes and gave them to the beggar, along with his meager provisions. The beggar thanked him 1,000 times, having given away his nice clothes. He was hesitant about going to the interview but finally gathered enough courage to enter the palace in his old, dirty clothes. At the palace, the king's servant led him to the great hall. After resting and cleaning off the road dust, he was taken to the throne room for the interview. The young man bowed as the king entered. When he looked up, he was shocked to recognize the king as the beggar he had met on the road. The king saw the surprise in the young man's eyes and said, "Yes, I am the beggar you met on the road. But why did you pretend to be a beggar?" "You are the king," the young man stammered after regaining his composure. "Because I had to be certain that you had a kind heart and truly loved your fellow beings," the king replied. "I knew that if I came to you as a king, you would do everything to impress me. But then I would never know what was truly in your heart. Generosity and love given to those in need without expecting anything in return is the sign of a noble heart. Seeing your love and generosity toward the beggar proved that you truly love your fellow beings. This country needs a leader who will work for the welfare of all people, not just those who serve the throne. You have proven that you are the right person to become my successor." Do you see the paradox? The young man completely failed in preparing for the interview, yet brilliantly succeeded in life's true test. Hey, let me tell you a real story. I have a friend who works as an HR director. Once he told me about an interview where a candidate was 15 minutes late because they stopped to help an elderly person who had fallen in the street. Can you guess what he did? He hired that candidate, despite the fact that their interview scores weren't as high as other candidates. But wait, does doing good always guarantee worthy rewards? This is where we need to look a bit deeper. First, about motivation. If you do good deeds only expecting rewards, then it's no longer good. It's an investment. Second, about reality. Good people don't always get lucky. Some people give their whole lives yet remain poor. But you know what's interesting? They often turn out to be the happiest people. And here's the key point: when doing good deeds, you change yourself before changing your circumstances. Like the young man in the story. He wasn't chosen because he gave away his clothes, but because he was a person with a kind heart. You might say, wait, isn't this unfair to those who carefully prepared for the interview? Not at all. The story doesn't say preparation is wrong. It shows that, while external preparation is important, internal preparation is far more crucial. Let me share with you 3 important lessons that few people notice from this story. First lesson: timing isn't as important as training. Many people wait for the perfect moment to do good deeds. Like, when I'm rich, I'll do charity. After my promotion, I'll help my colleagues. But reality shows, it's not time that defines who you are, but daily training. The young man in the story didn't need to wait until he was wealthy to give, because kindness had become his instinct through practice. Second lesson: don't worry about losses when giving. I know a businessman who dedicates 30% of his profits to charity each month. Many people call him crazy. But he says something profound: if you give out of fear of loss, you will truly lose. But if you give out of love, you'll receive back manifold. Like the young man in the story, he lost a set of clothes but gained an entire kingdom. Not because he expected compensation, but because he gave with his whole heart. And the most important lesson, the third lesson: life tests you at the most unexpected moments. Do you know how Bill Gates started? He says the most crucial moment wasn't signing big contracts, but the small decisions made in his college dorm room. Ethical choices, core values, they shape who you are from very early on. So what creates a person's true value? Not what they prepare to show, not what they plan to do, but what they do in moments when no one is watching. Because, in the end, life doesn't test you through big things. It tests you through the smallest actions. In moments you think no one notices. And who knows? That moment might come today. Hey, before we end, I have a small challenge for you. Let's do an exercise right now. 7-day challenge. Do one good deed each day without telling anyone. Record your feelings after each good deed. At week's end, reflect, what makes you happier, acknowledged good deeds or secret ones? Dare to try. I guarantee, the results will surprise you. Dear friends, the story of the king and the poor young man may seem simple, but it mirrors each of our own lives. Every day, we are all candidates in life's test. And like the young man in the story, sometimes failing in preparation becomes succeeding in being human. Remember, together we learned. Timing isn't as important as training. Don't worry about losses when giving. And life tests us at the most unexpected moments. But there's an even bigger question. If life is a mirror, reflecting who we truly are, then today, who did you see in the mirror? Someone trying to prepare everything perfectly to impress others? Or someone daring to live authentically, even when no one is watching? This question isn't for rushing to an answer. It's like a cup of tea for you to savor and occasionally contemplate before making decisions. See you in the next video. And hey, don't forget to do the small exercises I just shared. Who knows? Life might be testing you right now. Wishing you a day full of love and meaning.